Fuck it. It's a podcast. That's part of the problem about using your phone is there's lots of little distractions here and there.
That's true. I put mine on silent mode, but I can still use it to Google things like not another podcast.
Not another podcast. And also possibly cell phones, possibly recently announced cell phones.
Yeah. I did some news, or I did some research again this week. I have news from
Two cell
Samsung,
phones.
Nokia,
Yeah.
and Michelle Obama.
Not a cell phone.
Not a cell phone.
No.
Samsung, the S9. They were talking about it today, and it's all about the camera.
People keep, well, I mean, I saw the video from Marquez Brownlee. He said the exact same thing as that, but he proceeded not to really show anything about the camera. So I don't know how many people have really showed off its features at this point.
I think the only thing he might have just got it. He might have just got his
it
hands
looked
on
like they were
the
like a
preview.
demo or something for the phone.
But it's saying, it's all about the camera, super slow-mo. It can do 960 frames per second.
That is cool. He showed a little bit of that. So, and you can see that the video is really over sharpened, and he said it's a bit noisy too. But the amount of slow mo you can get at that, albeit I think it's for 0.2 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah. So you got to be really, really good on with your trigger finger. Although that's no different than a Phantom. It's just you have a little bit extra time to play with on a real slow camera.
He said that there's a automated function like the camera will watch for quick movement.
If there's some kind of action, yeah. Although, who's to say how useful that really is if you are, let's just say you have a channel like, I don't know, hydraulic press channel or something like that. There's a lot of bits that you would want to focus in on, and is 0.2 seconds going to cover your thing? No, you couldn't have a proper slow-mo video channel with that kind of capabilities, but it's cool to post to your social media, doing a backflip or something.
It has their answer to an emoji or whatever. Mm-hmm. You can use the camera to create your own animated avatar, and it will automatically do it for you, and then you can
in case you do not have a friend with suitable artistic capabilities as to create one for you, and if you want it to be animated.
But the big thing, and this is a neat thing, is it's the first cell phone that I've heard of and that I know of that has a variable aperture.
Yes, that was quite cool. Yeah. And again, big talk about that. Haven't seen the difference at all.
I haven't seen the difference in the photos, but at least you can see that it is a true aperture in the video they were showing, and it switched back and forth. So that's neat. And it goes from, was it 2.4 to 1.4?
1.5.
1.5.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, if you think about DSLR lenses, and you can just say you pick a fast 50, so something like a f1.4, f1.8 50 millimeter. Even on my f1.8 50 millimeter, there's a clear distinctive difference between f1.8 and if you brought it to 2.5 or 2.4 or what something like that. But with a cell phone, I don't know if I'd see that kind of difference. Just because for the longest time, all phones have been fixed aperture. They've been trying to get as wide of an aperture as you can get it. Nobody's complaining, my phone that pulls in so much brightness is dull in the places where it's in focus. Like, it's not really an issue for any flagship phone. And if it is, it's usually really poor glass quality or some kind of sensor quality issue.
I have a feeling that now that this phone is on the cusp of being released, that it will become an issue. People won't be able to live without it.
Maybe.
It's the way things go.
It kind of reminds me of some of the cheap film cameras you could get where they would just be like almost like a disposable camera in their in their build quality. They'd just be like a plastic box with a plastic lens. And it was almost, it might as well have been fixed aperture because there would be like a little aperture ring, and it would, instead of having something like you'd see on a DSLR like f2 and f2.8 whatever, it would have sunny, cloudy, and something more akin to low light or whatever, and that's what you pick, and you just, well, it's sunny out, I guess I'll go with the widest open. You have no idea what you're doing, and it's very wide open, halfway, and another half, and that's it. That's all you get. It's a very minimal customizability, which a bit gimmicky. I don't know. I really want to know how much it matters. Plus, you could also think of, in the case of video, if you wanted to keep certain settings stationary and you wanted to have an auto aperture mode, essentially, or you pick like an aperture priority mode and go the other way around with it, you would need the values in between. Like I think it'd be more interesting to see something that could go f1.5 to 2.4, but anything infinitely in between. Just so you could have a smooth transition of aperture.
I think that maybe in the future, I mean, every time something like this is released, like when Apple was doing stuff with their phones, people were saying, "Oh, it's a DSLR killer," which it wasn't, and it won't be.
No, but
we're
at the same time, people have shot movies on iPhones, which you would look at that and say that is it's a film. That's you don't look at it like it's just a crappy iPhone video.
So the line eventually, and probably within the next few years more so than ever, will become increasingly more and more blurred between, I mean, regular DSLR or mirrorless camera and cell phone cameras. I haven't heard anything new about it, but I'm still interested in what type of technology and what type of camera Red comes out with.
Yeah, because they are going to make
new updates.
No, I don't expect to see much for a while. And when they do announce it, it'll probably be a little bit less than what everybody was expecting. It's still going to cost a fortune.
It's AR based.
Yeah.
So there's going to be something augmented reality based about it. So they're right on target there. And it'll be modular, which is good.
Just like a camera and the fact that you can swap lenses and things. Really, I would hope that it's like that. But it'd almost be more interesting to see their take on something like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. Because I think Red could do it better.
Probably.
Or they, at the very least, put in a bigger sensor or something. Because that was one of the drawbacks of the Blackmagic Pocket camera.
Yeah, for them to do something like that definitely makes a lot more sense than, say, like another perhaps consumer electronics company like GoPro deciding, hey, we're going to make a drone. Because that didn't end well.
No, it didn't.
A few weeks ago was the first time that I ever saw Karma in the flesh.
I bet you GoPro would make a killer cinema camera, though, if you gave the ability. Because really, the only thing that they haven't proven themselves on is glass. They only make fisheye lenses. That's what their thing is. But sensors and GoPros are great. Nobody's really complaining about the image quality anymore. They look fantastic. User interfaces, given the amount of buttons on it, amazing. And you can do anything very quickly with their cameras. I find them to be quite intuitive. It'd be cool to see what they could do.
Or what they could have done.
That's more up their alley than necessarily trying to get into the drone market that is already so heavily dominated by DJI and some of the more professional drones that are, you would hook a DSLR up to or something. So it's a very different angle. They should stick to cameras and not things that cameras are attached to.
Exactly. Well, I mean, they were smart to add their editing software, like we talked about before. That was smart because, you have all this footage. You need something to edit it on,
and that's for pre-existing customers too, right? Mm-hmm. If somebody already has a GoPro, they're going to get more out of that product with said software if they're not big into cinematography and getting a professional editing suite and things like that. Mm-hmm. Which we talked about before. I like the GoPro editing suite that they have just for managing files, for doing simple things like just splicing videos together or putting together a time lapse.
I always had fun with it. It's always worked well. Mm-hmm. So they did a good job out of all the businesses and stuff that they bought. That was a good purchase.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
On the Samsung S9, the end of the report simply says it's a good bet that the S9 will sell very well and put another rocket under Samsung's profits. But it probably isn't going to make the jaded phone buyers go, wow. And, the camera itself, I need to see it in action before I even get super enthused about it. But
it's really annoying. This is something that bothers the hell out of me. I follow a lot of stuff about phones and technology, and I guess since the Google's Pixel 2 is one of the biggest phone announcements we've had in recent times, there has just been, since before it was out, this crazy following of people that will just post anything to trash it to begin with, because first they didn't even have it in their hands yet at first. And then since then, literally every single time I go through my newsfeed on my phone, there's somebody complaining about some Pixel 2 XL feature. And it's always software, like, oh, there's this crazy bug that happens where your phone just shuts off or whatever. And they're like, but Google's fixing it, but we have to deal with this. And it's just, nonstop complaining. It's like the heightened expectations for these products ruin it for most people who really. I don't feel like my expectations were overly high with it. It's another phone, just like the next iPhone is just going to be another iPhone. There might be cool little features here and there, but because of people expecting this, like, oh, it's got to be better than the last one, there's just this crazy built-up hype these days that just you cannot live up to.
Well, you have a phone. I mean, who was it? It was Louis C.K. Who said, or he had a bit about how people will get things really quickly. Like he was on a flight. And it was the first flight he was ever on that had internet.
Okay.
And before the flight took off,
I've heard this.
The pilot came on and said, "Unfortunately, we can't use the internet." And somebody beside him was like, "Oh, God damn it!" He's like,
"You've never had this capability
about something that has never existed before,
and you've never used it.
You've never used it.
We're not relying on it.
Exactly.
It came into your life, and it was taken before you got the chance to use it, and now you're mad about it."
Yeah, these phones, to an extent, are more interesting than anything more interesting than Wi-Fi on an airplane. You get a phone that has a variable aperture lens. That's really impressive.
It's a cool new feature.
If it happens to be a little glitchy on day one, it's all software. I mean, it could be hardware as well, but software can be redone and reprogrammed. But you can't. I mean, at a certain point, you can get mad. If they have like a final version, then yes, you could be mad. But there's bound to be bugs.
But with the flagship, people who buy these, I mean, you're going to get the more updates than any other phone. So really, the chances of any issue you have being fixed are the highest you can get. If you're buying an iPhone, if you're buying Samsung's flagship or HTC's flagship, any of these phones, they tend to get good coverage. If you're buying a phone for $200 off a contract, you might be forgotten. But at the same time, I mean, I tend to like I've bought a lot of value phones, I would say. I don't have crazy high expectations of them. And honestly, a lot of things surprise me. Like all these cameras all the cameras on a lot of phones, they keep putting, dual cameras. And it's always, you get a standard one and you get a telephoto or something. I didn't even realize that my phone was going to have this, but when I got my phone with dual cameras, turns out one of them isn't a telephoto, it's actually a fisheye or like an ultra wide angle. I use it all the time. It's actually really useful, and it's on a cheap phone. That none of the flagships are doing that. I can't think of one. It's just unique.
Thinking of interesting. You probably saw it too because it was on the Marquise channel. The in-glass fingerprint scanner.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was neat. Everybody else missed the mark. If they go and they can do fingerprint scanning on the entire screen or something like that. Yeah, that'll be cool.
Then you wouldn't need a specific place for it anymore, which would be nice. Mm-hmm. And it really gets around the utilitarian, like the function of the issue everybody's having, where you don't want to have it at the bottom anymore, like a lot of phones do. My phone has it like that. All the iPhones used to before the Face ID, but they put it on the back, which I hate because then you smudge your camera. You're gonna put your finger in the wrong place so many times. Or you put on the side one of the power buttons or something. It's a bit of a clunky implementation. But if you put it on the screen, the thing that everybody's already touching and they know what they're looking at when they go to touch it, it makes perfect sense.
It's a smart idea. It looked like it worked well. He said it was a little bit slower than.
Yeah. But first implementation. That wasn't even a major phone
No,
what was that?
That was I can't remember.
It's just some strange, some small brand of phone.
I know that when there was rumors of Apple releasing the iPhone X, at one point they were talking about having fingerprint scanning inside the glass, and it obviously never came to be, and then they went the facial route. It must be nice to change from, it doesn't say in the description of the video, but
no.
It must be nice to go from one emerging technology, be like, yeah, we're going to put the fingerprint scanning in the glass, and then realizing, yeah, we're not going to have time, and then you go, yeah, we're going to go to something else that arguably
has already been done.
Has been done before.
Yes.
Depending on who you talk to, some people say that Apple's a little bit better than other people.
Which I believe it, but that's what they've always done. They've always taken something that, the tech people out there can appreciate and have been appreciating for a while, and then they re-release it to the general public in a way that everybody's like, this is a new crazy thing. And it works so good because it's already been perfected from the way that it used to be. People think, Apple's got it right. And then for that matter, they do.
Yeah. So
People still complain to no end about Face ID, but it's one of those things that maybe there's too much hype about it. Maybe if I used it, I'd find it perfectly acceptable. I mean, I have a fingerprint reader on my phone, and I never have thought in my entire life that the amount of time it takes to open my phone is too long. What is it? A quarter of a second?
boom. Exactly.
Yeah. Is that too long for somebody? Probably. There's probably somebody who would complain about that all day long.
Yeah, but I've never understood it, just like you said, because if there are messages that I need to reply to, I don't even have to unlock the phone. I can just, in my lock screen,
That too.
go and hit reply. It doesn't show any previous messages, but I can reply to that. I don't have to be in my phone to do things that I might need to do really quickly. And yes, if it takes half a second to unlock my phone.
And also, you of 6 years ago, when did you need to reply to a text in about 3.7 seconds? But when was that need? When did you have
didn't.
that? Exactly. It's this expectation that you should be able to do it that makes people very demanding, I would say.
Well, no, that's really true. I dealt with a gentleman today who needed to get his iPhone fixed, and he came in and he said, "I need my iPhone. I need a replacement today."
Okay.
Like, we don't do it on Sundays. Our Apple technician isn't here on Sundays. I don't even have access to his wide array of iPhones.
His drawer of iPhones.
The drawer of iPhones. And he was mad. Like,
Wow.
you need, it still works. I see you using it. It's just got a crack in it. You need it absolutely today. Like, what are you doing that you absolutely need a brand new
Because of the crack in the screen.
replacement today on a Sunday night?
Yeah.
Were you going to a fancy dinner that you don't want to pull out a cracked phone, or are you just saying that, like, I get it, I run my business off my phone, that's great. If something goes wrong, I've got my old iPhone 4.
You yourself should have a backup of some sort. Even if you can do a hell of a lot with an iPad. Maybe you can't make the phone calls that you would be required to do, but any phone can do that.
Yep.
So why don't you just have to go buy a $20 phone that just makes phone calls, pop your SIM card in that, make your phone calls, anything else, carry around an iPad.
But you see, even if something goes wrong with the phone itself, if it still works, I can take phone calls from my apartment because it'll forward to my iMac.
Well, there you go.
So I've got myself covered. Plus, I have my old iPhone that still works fine, and then I have my phone before the iPhone, which I turned on the other day and it still works. I wouldn't go that far back if I had to, but
No. I don't really have that luxury so much just because I break all my phones, so.
or they get stolen in Cuba.
Or they get stolen in Cuba. Yeah.
You better keep a chain on this one when we go to Florida.
I'm not terribly worried about it. Plus, I'll be in America. I'm going to figure out some way that I can use my phone still and not be roaming.
Most. Who are you with?
Rogers.
They have a roam like home.
Okay. I'm going to use that because it makes perfect sense for a
Yeah,
trip in
text-
North America.
Google it. I think if you text 3333
Yeah.
and type, I can't remember what it is, but I checked, and it'll tell you if you're in the roam like home. It'll be $25 or $30 for the week,
Okay.
but you can use it exactly like you're in Canada.
I'm probably going to do that then.
I'm doing that.
And then you have Find My Device. And
Yeah.
Perfect. If it goes missing or if some crazy Cuban person that's for some reason in Florida steals my phone, I'm covered. I can
Exactly.
chase them down.
Yep. I was really happy about it. I'm still going to get Justin to handle some emails while we're away, just so if there is any work coming in, I can actually enjoy the vacation. I'll still take phone calls.
You think that would be a begrudging process? Like, I got to do work for my boss who's in Florida right now.
I don't know. Like, every time that I've went away, I've always made sure that somebody would handle emails. Like, I went away on a cruise a few years ago. Tila handled the emails just because cruises is just really expensive internet or no internet.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
And
That'd be an exception where I'd leave
Yeah.
the phone at home.
I had one stop where there was internet, so I went through the emails that I had to, and I sent out confirmations and whatnot. Then when we went to Dominican, Justin looked after, and there was nothing. Most weeks there might be a few inquiries, if any, and then more often than not it's fine. And then again, if I hit internet, I'll look through.
Relevant to this story, Tila has told me that the time that she was responsible for your emails, she realized what a flaming pile of junk most of your emails were. Is it improved since then, you think? Or
What do you mean?
She just said you had a ton of junk. You would get like 100 junk messages.
Yeah,
And
it's improved.
okay. What do you just hit unsubscribe on all the things?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more careful now. It was like there's the normal ones. Like I still get Best Buy to my work one.
They send so many emails.
do.
It's I had unsubscribed from them recently.
So I still need to work on it more, especially if we're going a little bit more of the open route. So that way there's nothing private that goes to it.
No.
Just like I some things like other photographers' blogs when they post and I get
makes
an
sense.
email, that goes to that.
get some research
but
for
over the course of the week, it does add up. Mm-hmm. So
For whatever reason, my ability to manage stress in my life is very much linked to my ability to stop almost anybody from emailing me. Like if I get an email, it better be so important that like I could turn on notifications and just not worry about being interrupted from an email. But of course I don't, because I'm inevitably going to get junk email all the time. It's just something that everybody puts up with and has been putting up with for a very long time.
I use Gmail even as like a email server for the DH Media email, and it'll sort for me, and I do always check because it'll sort promotional and whatever, and I'll check through to make sure I'm not missing anything, because sometimes things do slip through, but most of the time with just a quick swipe I can delete them all.
Okay.
So if I do get anything, it's gone easily enough. But I should, like you had said, go back and double check, because some days I don't even think about it. It's just delete, delete, delete. So I actually do wonder how bad it is. It's not as bad as it was. That being said, Teal was complaining about my personal email. Back then, we didn't have the
there wasn't a business
Duster.ca.
one. Okay.
So it's my personal email.
Still, I mean, if you can manage that much clutter, I guess that's fine. But oh god, I can't deal with that.
Actually, one of the things that I've been doing is I have been going back, because my personal email has emails dating back many, many years ago, and I have been deleting more and more, keeping important things and saving documents that I may want, just because it does take up so much space. But it takes time.
No, I was too meticulous with it before. I would have folders for like everything eBay related, everything from PayPal, and and then it was over the top. I should probably just select those folders and delete. It's not important. I can go on living my life without this. It's not like I need it for taxes or something like that. Which in that case, I hate keeping receipts, but
I love keeping receipts. I don't love it at tax time, but in general, I mean, I like it after April. So from April through till December, I like it. And then December through the end of March, I don't like it.
No.
Because I have to count every single receipt, which I don't have to, but I like counting.
I feel like keeping track of my finances in other ways is better. Like I can just look at a bank statement or a credit card statement and get a good feel for what I've been spending. And I could keep track of those numbers as opposed to looking at an itemized list of whatever.
The
I bought
itemized
at the
is for
grocery
tax
store.
purposes.
Yes.
The bank statements and whatnot, that I keep track of too, but that's a small blip of everything. Dividing the expenses helps. Obviously, I'm able to check to see how much money I did legitimately spend on meeting clients at Tim Hortons, and
It adds up.
as much as we joke about that's a business expense, it does add up.
Absolutely.
A coffee here, a coffee there. You're allowed to buy the client's coffee, so $6 every time. Car stuff, same thing. Every oil change, every bit of car stuff.
What kind of maintenance have you had to do on your Ford Fusion?
Well, not really recently. A year ago, had to do the battery, almost exactly a
Which
year
is,
ago.
yeah. There's certain things that nobody would look like. They're not going to be like, oh, that's unreliable, because everybody has to fix a battery.
No, the
or replace it.
battery, I got a crack in the windshield once because I was on the highway, got that replaced.
I haven't.
Yeah, I know you don't.
Yeah. One day I will.
I was still
I'm
doing.
tired of looking at it, kind of.
I was still doing baby photos, so I was trying to be a little bit more conscious about not showing up in if something looks horrible.
The broken windshield.
I got rear-ended 2 months ago now, or a month and a half ago now, and the guy paid to have the rebar and the back end fixed, which, again,
Not some
didn't
kind
need to be done.
No, and it's also not
because
some kind of
he did
mechanical failure.
He paid for it. The last little bit of required work that I had to get done is I got the brake pads done, and I mean, just
out of curiosity, so it was just the pads, not the rotors, right? Mm-hmm. How much you had somebody else do it? How much did they charge you?
I can't remember. I'd have to go back and check.
Because that's what I did this weekend, and I don't think I'll ever pay somebody to do it again because it's not hard. Like I don't, and it's fun. Like smashing a rotor off with a sledgehammer, it's kind of, I don't know. It feels kind of good.
How much did it cost you in total?
For the brake, well, I had to replace a bearing as well, but for the brakes, pads and rotors, $130.
Okay.
Brought to you by CarQuest.
Yeah, I don't know how much it was for me. I can check because that's always the interesting part. How much I like the person I go to. Mm-hmm. For the first time ever, I feel as though they don't talk down to me. I'm not the most car oriented, so when I have questions, they'll let me know if it's a dumb question, but they won't make fun of the question. And they are a little bit slower on certain things that should be quick, like an oil change. I hate getting my oil changed with them because they take so much longer than the 10-minute oil change places. But they're just a little bit cheaper, and I feel better because they do a full look through everything, like the oil change places say that they do. But
they'll oil certain joints and things like that, which is nice. But nobody ever told me until, and this is a little bit of another thing. I went to a Canadian Tire. Canadian Tire is really good for, a lot of their mechanics are quite good at what they do. They're really good at telling you what's wrong. So I got them to put my vehicle up on the hoist, and they brought me out and said this is worn in or whatever, and just walked me through everything. I felt quite confident that the mechanic knew exactly what he was talking about, knew exactly what to look for. Just the labor costs that they try to add on are insane, and the cost of certain parts are really jacked up, I would say.
Because you get a licensed mechanic who has spent a long time owning his craft and whatnot,
and acquiring $50,000 in tools.
Yep, and they own all that equipment, or I was told by somebody who does auto stuff with Canadian Tire that there's some equipment that Canadian Tire supplies, but most of the equipment is their own.
Yes.
They're an employee of Canadian Tire. They go, I guess if they have their own equipment, it would make them a contractor, though.
More so, but I don't.
Anyways,
not sure to what extent.
There'd be like a double markup because you would have the mechanic's price, and then there'd be that markup for Canadian Tire. So it is more expensive right off the bat than any other mechanic who just has his own markup. Mm-hmm. Coincidentally, my mechanic's name is Mark, but
perfect.
No, he's really good. It's family owned, or it's independently owned. He's not without mistakes, but he's very good at rectifying them. Like when the asshole hit the back of my car, he ordered the wrong part, but he got the next one within a day, and it ended up being cheaper. So
decent.
It was good. So things like that, I don't know if you would get better service at Canadian Tire or anywhere else. My problem was I did a lot of my tire work, and I dealt with Active Green and Ross for a long time. Okay. And every time I would go in to get tire work done, it would always seem like something else would go wrong. And
people do have weird, I don't know if they're coincidences for the most part, but people will claim that shady things have happened to their vehicles. And it's weird because a lot of times it's like, oh, the guy who did my oil change, I had him do the oil change, and the next day something in the transmission went. It's like, well, what could they have done to your transmission?
It's like there's some things that seem unrelated, and they very well could be. I'm now at a point where I think everybody eventually, as you grow up, if you do it yourself, that's fine. I've always wanted to learn how to do certain things on my car myself. It's hard to do that in an apartment parking lot sometimes. But if there's things you can't do, I think eventually you grow old enough, you end up having a guy. I got a guy.
Yeah, somebody who's able to devote their.
And sometimes the guy is Canadian Tire. You have a mechanic at Canadian Tire, just like you have a financial advisor at TD or something like that. And then some people have this guy.
It is oddly satisfying for whatever reason to work on a vehicle as opposed to something else, just because it's an extremely ordered device with so many parts to it. I don't know. I like to get lost in it, sort of. And it's got these really specific orders of operations. Like if you're going to fix any of the electrical components, anything that's accessible within the vehicle, there's a specific order to take off all your, your dashboard panels and all these things like that. And I don't know. I find it kind of fun. It's kind of annoying because there will be things that will play, like you got to get a specific kind of ratchet that only fits in this exact area, and there's a very specific way to fit it and get it out. It can be a pain, but kind of rewarding.
My mechanic kind of stated it simply. He said some people spend their time, learning about cars, and they can profit off of that. And that person who knows cars could save a little bit of money getting a mid-range camera and take crappy family photos, or they could spend more money and go to a professional photographer. So we all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses. I for some reason seem to lack a lot of strengths in traditionally masculine areas, but I'm learning as I go. Like I learned how to. It was such a stupid accomplishment for me, but I have surround sound speakers in my apartment, and
nice.
As I was moving furniture, I tore one of the cables, and I had to Google to fix it, and I fixed it.
Did you solder it, or
no? It was just rewrapping the cables.
And taped it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not a professional fix, but it works fine.
No, as long as it makes.
They weren't expensive surround sound speakers either, so they still work fine. I was watching. And two experiences you wouldn't think. I was watching Eurotrip on my birthday. Okay. And Blu-ray player went surround sound. I wonder if sound editors fuck with people.
Did they put weird things behind your
like it keeps throwing me off.
Yeah.
People in the movie, they'd yell and they'd be like, "Oh crap!" And then a few nights ago, I watched Jurassic World as I was again filing receipts. So I wasn't actually watching the TV. I had my back to the TV. And there was a raptor over there, and it scared the shit out of me. And it wasn't a raptor. It was just leaves rustling.
Right.
But I had my window open too, so it's like it could have came from the window. Very immersive. I like it.
I haven't enjoyed surround sound in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Just my family's living room, I guess, had a pretty good surround sound system, but I never saw the purpose for myself to buy it unless I had a devoted movie room, theater, or something like that in my house.
As I said, it's just a cheap surround sound, but it's amazing how affordable it is to even get that extra immersion. It's not fully surround because I can't get anything behind me. I suppose I could now that there's a desk behind the couch, so it would be kind of neat. So it is just right, and then a few in the front, but there is one that is supposed to go behind as well. But I don't care. When I get a house, I am going to have hopefully something of decent quality.
If you can, it's one of those things that I'd almost want to overdo. Like I'd get way too into okay, this room's got to have perfect acoustics. It's got to have this exact shape. TV's here. Speakers have to be this set distance apart, and just see how far you can push it.
One of my dad's friends built his current house from scratch.
Okay.
He had lived in a farmhouse for forever, and he used to do tobacco, and now he owns real estate. He's now a real estate developer and stuff like that. So good money. Tore down his farmhouse.
Okay. And
built just this brand new, huge, just beautiful house, giant fireplace. That's the mantles, the height of the bookshelf. So slightly overdone. That being said, he's a very tall person as well.
Enjoy it from up high.
Yeah. His basement. Beautiful basement, pool table, workout room, basically everything you could ever ask for. Mm-hmm. Giant, nice projected TV, speakers all over the basement, like
All over?
in the ceiling,
Oh, okay.
all over. But because it was like that, not surround sound. So you'll get equal sound all over the basement, but it's not surround sound.
How does that work? Is it all wired into like 2 channels, like a stereo
I
setup?
think so.
A really good stereo setup can sound you can get sort of a feel for the space. But that sounds like a nightmare for wiring it up. Like, what did he do? Just splice all the cables together?
Well, he didn't. He had somebody come in.
Weird. I mean, the most the people usually push it to is 7.1 or 7.2 for surround sound, which I guess you could take more speakers and put multiple speakers on a specific channel, but it'd be weird to do just as many speakers as you can find and make a circle around you, unless you could get the differentiation of position. But no movies film like that. Nobody movies film to fit such a sound space.
Oh, whatever. The times that I've been there, they've just basically been parties, so it plays music very well.
I would have.
I don't think they watch movies down there all that much. I think it is just more of a football. They always do Super Bowl party, and I mean it sounds fine. And then I know somebody else who redid their basement. Nice, again, giant projector television. That seems to be the way that a lot of people go nowadays, and they do have surround sound, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. One thing that almost negates it, if this future would actually come to fruition and not just be some kind of gimmick, is VR. Because then you just wear headphones, 2 channels, or you have 2 speakers around you, and depending on which way you face, it just plays something a little bit different.
Oh, I know.
Which would really mitigate the need for expensive speakers. Yeah. If you could make the VR more affordable, at least.
Like that VR experience we saw at that camera show last year.
Yes. Well, there was a immersive sound element to it.
Which was neat.
It was. I know that for some video games, they've been trying to perfect that for a while, and there's definitely some that would probably take advantage of that, I would think. I can see it working for video games because the people that are willing to put up with the process necessary to get some of that working and all the setup, all the drivers, all the stuff to make it work would be gamers more than a casual movie watcher.
That's true. They theorize that the next... I mean, they kind of have it, and we mentioned this only briefly before, but it's the first game that I've had experience with, that the next generation may end up being a VR version. I can't imagine how it would be entertaining. But they say that potentially The Sims 5 could be virtual reality, which I guess is interesting until you...
It's like life simulator, but...
So the whole idea of The Sims is you're controlling multiple people. You're controlling... Not one. You're controlling...
Is that the premise for the game? Is that you control one person?
No, you control... I mean, if you start out single, you control the person, but you get married, you have kids, whatever. That's kind of the way you control a family of 8. Not really a single person, although you can. So I can't imagine VR you could control more than one person at a time. So you'll just be living a digital life, which I'm sure I know some people would like.
Yeah. If you don't got a lot going for you, you don't look the way you want, and nothing's going the way you want it to, man, just turn on your computer. Live the life you always wanted.
Well, that's why I have GTA. I get angry, I shoot people, which is a hot button topic right now.
Yeah, but it won't be when we release this.
No, that's true.
Everybody will have forgotten about
because if we released
the AR-15 rifle,
if we released the first one now, it would be the middle of April before we got to this one. Yeah. So we probably should.
We would seem blissfully unaware of the state of America and the mass shooting situation down there.
That's true. Which
might cheer people up a bit.
That's true. That's a screwed up situation. And I noticed for the first time the mass shooting actually I caught somebody unknowingly spreading fake news.
Okay.
Somebody on Facebook posted a link to another school shooting.
Oh.
Okay. And it was in the States.
Yeah.
And I'm reading the comments, and the comments were like, "This is horrible. I can't believe it happened again." Because it was only a week after the February 14th in Florida, maybe 10 days. But very, very soon. They're like, "This is horrible." And there was 2 students dead, 17 injured. So not on the same scale, but every life is You know,
Sure.
death is horrible. But I clicked the article because I wanted to know where it was. I wanted to know the information. I read the article, and then I read the date. The date is what got me. It was from this year. It was from mid-January.
Okay.
Okay? Not the middle of February. But this woman who posted it
Was saying that it was.
was saying, oh, it's another, like, this has to be stopped.
Yeah.
So I could have left it, but the comments were, they have to do something, they have to do something. So I just commented and I said, it's horrible. And it is also horrible that there's this distinction that it's not a shooting from this month, it's last month's shooting, but it's not new. Mm-hmm. So as we're talking about this, please know that this isn't breaking news. This is very unfortunate, but thus far, there hasn't been another one as bad as the one that we've just went through. So let's not spread this as brand new. If you want to talk about it and how bad it is, and it is horrible, that's fine, but don't say that it just happened this morning or anything like that, because it didn't. No. And it's not like even the date was hard to find. It was a news article.
So it was dated at
Name,
the top.
like byline, date. So somebody just saw it's one of those things where somebody sees the headline and they just go from that.
Another interesting thing to see with all of this is there's always some comedian that will make the first joke about something like that, and everybody they'll hate him for it forever. And then it becomes somehow acceptable to make fun of it in certain situations. But what I'm saying more replace that now is people will make memes about something as serious as a school shooting. And it makes you feel guilty because some of them are kind of funny.
Well, I think
I get the example that I like to pick on would be people were criticizing the children for speaking out mostly because they're like, what? Last week you were eating Tide Pods and this week you're telling us about gun control.
Which is true, but it is and I mean, on that point, yes, that generation may have had Tide Pod problems.
Possibly.
But they are generalizing. There's no guarantee that any student from that school ate a Tide Pod.
Overall, probably most kids have not eaten Tide Pods.
I would say there is a high... I've eaten soap. I'd be one of the only people in our group of friends who has, right?
You're the only person I know that has eaten soap.
So the odds of any one of those students having eaten Tide Pods, not likely. But the millennial generation, there's some people that deal with it, and they think it's everybody else's fault, and they get to have that attitude. You know a few people, you've lived with a few of them.
Yes.
And then there's other people that are like, well, this is the hand we were dealt, and we're gonna make something of it. But if something were to happen, there's always I don't know what I'm trying to say. You can't generalize, really.
No.
Yes, there was a certain segment of people eating Tide Pods. But even though they ate Tide Pods, I consider myself to be an intelligent person. You want to talk about gun control? That's fine. 6 months ago, I ate soap.
No, of course. It would be logically fallacious to infer that because somebody does something stupid once that they cannot make a valid criticism of something else.
So, of course.
I mean, they're still children, and it's still a bit of a strange issue because you could talk about gun control as a more general thing because this is a very there's shootings everywhere. A general approach to it would make sense. It's strange that a lot of times it's about banning a specific rifle. Which, I mean, a lot of people, I always see people post jokes about, assault whatever versus whatever, and it's just a bunch of plastic glued to a thing that makes it an assault weapon of some kind. And it's strange the way that humans draw distinctions, and it's a very emotional response to the look of this object, and like, that's a killing machine, but this wooden rifle your grandfather used to hunt a deer, not a problem, not something worth banning.
Well, exactly. I have a friend who he was a groom, and on his bachelor party, or at his bachelor party, they went axe throwing.
That'd be fun.
I'd
love to do that.
And he has continued. And it's been almost 2 years since his wedding. And I saw a video of him a little while ago hitting throwing his axe and getting bullseye all the time. Almost like somebody going to a gun range and shooting a gun. Now that axe in his hands.
It's a weapon. You could hurt somebody with it, yeah. It's true.
Nobody's saying ban the axes. He can't have an axe.
That's sort of the argument for the amount of damage, because people will say, "Oh, well, look at how much damage you can do with guns. We should ban guns." And then people will argue, "Well, but what should we ban cars? Because you can do potentially more damage with a vehicle running people over."
That's true. If I took my car and drove it through
crowds, which
we've crowds, if I went through the farmers market in St. Catharines on a Saturday, boom, more than 17 people.
Absolutely. And then people will say that they'll sort of dismiss that argument. I would say just because cars seem like such a necessary thing, and they're not intentionally
Cars don't kill
weapon.
People. I kill people.
Yeah. And then you look at statistics for stuff like knife crimes, and I think the largest mass killing situation that's ever occurred was somewhere in China with some guy had a knife on a subway or something.
Well, in a small space, sure.
It's a strange attitude, especially being somewhere in the world that's not the United States. We don't, at least people like to think we don't have guns everywhere, although we do. It's just different kinds of guns and for different purposes. Like there's no, in the States they have this, self-defense mentality and things like that we don't get so much in Canada. But it's just strange looking at a lot of people squabble over things like bump stocks, which that was always, you know what a bump stock is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a party trick. Like before this was ever a thing, before the Las Vegas shooter guy had one, it was never, I have never seen anybody talk about it in the news. It was the thing that, I know this guy who knows a guy who had modified his stock of his gun to go back and forth, and now he can shoot it as fast as seemingly as fast as an assault rifle. I mean, later you find out that the guy's all over the place. He can't control anything because that's not what the device is made for. But Donald Trump came out and he talked about how they're looking into banning them. It's like a bunch of kids were just killed with, albeit it was an AR-15, but a bump stock wasn't involved. And I don't know. And the guy that was shooting people in Las Vegas, I think one of his guns had a bump stock. What about the other guns he used? They didn't. It didn't stop them from being effective.
I think any type of, once you get politics involved and once you get people paying, I mean, the NRA is obviously kind of deep in politics.
People are turning on the NRA, which is weird because people have been complaining about the roots of the NRA for as long as I can remember.
I was going to print an article about it, but I couldn't find, I'm trying to get better sources, and I couldn't find anything that wasn't like an offshoot newspaper, but they were saying that in recent interviews, Trump at least has expressed interest in doing something about the gun problem, and there's a disagreement brewing with the NRA.
If they were to make any decision based on this,
I'm just getting worried. Hold on one second.
Yeah. Ooh. Do we have some kind of recording issue possibly? No?
I'm just making sure.
Okay, perfect. I would say that if there was any change to be seen, the one that I would least object to would probably be to raise the age of individuals that can have guns. Because, I mean, I grew up knowing guns as hunting tools or like just something for target practice. And I was to be fair, I was shooting much, much younger than 18. But at the same time, I never had access to guns at that point, even though I could legally buy one due to having a firearms license. I never, even if I did, I'm pretty sure my parents probably would have stuck it in the gun safe. They have the key to it.
As they should have.
Yeah, which is reasonable, I would say. I don't know. I think the age at which it becomes reasonable to own and store your own firearms is the age at which you are independent, the age at which you would be probably either moved out or at the very least paying rent to your parents or something along those lines. Not in high school, that's for sure.
Well, I didn't ever really shoot. We did some stuff at scout camps and whatnot.
Probably had air rifles or like some kind of bow and arrow setup, I would imagine.
But I went to school with kids because, I mean, yes, it's a tobacco town, but I went to school with kids who hunted all the time. Not kids. I went to high school with high school students who hunted all the time, and they would hunt after school. They would hunt before school. And I've told this story to a few people, but the more I think about it, the more I think maybe it was actually before, a few years before I was in school. But I remember there was an issue with students who were licensed having a gun rack in their car.
Without a gun in it.
without a gun in it, or with a gun. I can't remember what it was. And now that I'm in front of the camera, I don't want to give false info.
Sure. Well,
But-
let's go on this premise though. So, gun rack in their car. I mean, that shouldn't really be
That
red
shouldn't
flag
be a
to
problem. But
anybody.
I feel as though some students still brought, because they would hunt before school.
Yeah.
So I feel like
So
some
they were in the
would
school
bring,
parking lot
yeah.
with a gun in their car.
You wouldn't at all be able to do that now.
No.
But I think, because I graduated 8 years ago. A lot's happened in 8 years. And even then, I know it wasn't in grade 12 because one of the hunters that I knew of died, and that was before grade 12. So I know that it would have been like grade 10 maybe. So that's 10 years ago, maybe 11, so 9. So maybe they were allowed. I can't remember, but I know.
I don't know. Like, I don't see anywhere specifically stating that you cannot bring a weapon like that into a parking area of somewhere. Like, there's specific rules about how you store a gun in your car in Canada. I mean, it would
I
be
feel if you
inaccessible to
follow
the
those
driver.
rules.
It would be locked in some way with a trigger guard or something like that that makes it unusable, and the ammunition would be stored somewhere that is not within reasonable access to the firearm. So somewhere else locked, perhaps in a locked glove box or something along those lines. I don't know. It doesn't. It is kind of sketchy, I guess. But if you live in the country, that's kind of to be expected, I would imagine.
I would think so. We're shooting a wedding for one of my friends who's one of the hunters.
That's coming up.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm excited for that.
yeah. He hunts all the time. He's now into cars more than hunting, but he used to hunt all the time with his dad. Dad was one of my scout leaders.
I can't see myself ever being big into hunting alone. I like doing it with my family when I was younger, for the most part. But yeah, some people get really enthusiastic about it. But at the end of the day, I don't feel like I would have accomplished very much because, yeah, I sat in the forest and waited for a deer to come by, and I used a gun.
Heavily overpowered weapon to kill the defenseless
And even
deer.
people get off on like using like or not even a crossbow, like an actual like a recurve bow or something
would
that's
be neat.
very highly skilled, but they just make themselves out to be some kind of warrior because they can do it. And it's not for me. I think I can pass on that. Maybe if I was going to go on vacation one year and I wanted to switch it up, a hunting trip in Alaska would be pretty cool. Or
That'd be neat.
Yeah. You can't go to Africa and do that because people will crucify you for shooting
you
anything.
can. Just make sure there's no pictures.
Well, yeah, or just hunt something that people don't like a wild pig or something like
A
that.
snake.
A snake. There you go. Nobody's gonna complain.
No.
Shoot a lion. Oh,
Yep.
no, that's it.
That's
Your
elephant.
career is over. You're gonna be fired. You're gonna have no friends.
Yep.
Somebody might try to run you down with their car if they see you.
I like, contrary to the way I look and how I live my life, I enjoyed hiking with you before,
Yeah,
and
nice.
I'd like to do it again. And the more I talk to Justin about golfing, we should go golfing
Yeah,
this year.
absolutely. I'd love to go
be
golfing
fun.
this summer at least once.
I talked to my dad about golfing. He's like, "Oh, what'd you use?" I'm like, "We rented clubs from the golf course." He's like, "Why didn't you use yours?" So I
Oh.
guess I forgot that I had them. I wonder if it's been so long, if they're the right size. But I guess I've got a set at home, which I'll bring back at some point because I have to go to a driving range before we do any golfing because I need to work on.
Driving range is almost. I never went to an actual golf course to play 9 holes or 18 holes or whatever, but I did go to a lot of driving ranges as a kid. That was a lot of fun. I like the ones where they put stuff out there for you to hit, like some old beat up car or something.
Tractor.
Tractor, there you go.
The one in Tilsonburg had a tractor. Yeah, no, that'd be fun. And the hiking, I enjoy hiking, so I think I like a lot of things that hunters do, except the actual hunting. I like going out.
I just use my camera. You try to get a big telephoto lens or something on there, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah, you can shoot the animals in a different way.
And multiple times.
Yeah, no blood.
No blood.
Now, that being said, the only time I've eaten duck
Never had duck.
was over a fire, freshly hunted, just delicious. Very greasy, but cooked over a fire. The grease it adds fuel to the fire. It was really good. And I don't do grocery stores sell duck. I think you'd have to go to like an Asian market to get duck.
Certain times of year, they'll sell certain things. Like I think duck Also rabbit. For whatever reason, I don't even know
had
when
rabbit.
it is. But I see it in the grocery store sometimes, but there'll be periods of like months where you can't find it,
Because they're catching the wascally wabbit.
I guess. Which I always find it weird because those are like, I guess, captive rabbits. I don't know. I've only ever eaten snowshoe hare, which hare and rabbit are different. I don't think I've ever had rabbit exactly. But I guess those were brought over. Rabbit were brought over to North America for purposes of breeding and eating them. Hare were, I guess, indigenous to North American landscape.
Well, next time you see some rabbit, grab some.
There's rabbit down here, but I would feel so guilty
They're cute.
killing a cottontail rabbit in the subdivision somewhere. Probably get a cops called on me too. Not worth it. Although I could probably get one in my backyard.
That's true.
Just use a bow and arrow. Nobody would know.
And then you'll feel badass. You'll feel like a god because you killed him with an arrow.
I would feel very impressed because I suck at using a bow and arrow. I'm not good at it.
I haven't. I haven't done any type of archery since high school. Since my last year of high school, which would have been more recent than the last time I did archery with Scout. I wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It's definitely been 8 years, so I'd have to reacquaint myself.
It was the consistency that was the issue because I probably could hit something relatively close to a bullseye at like 30 yards, but to get the arrows to even be close to the same place all the time, I can't. I don't have a steady enough hand for that.
A broken clock is right once or twice a day.
Yeah. Accurate enough that I could probably get a deer if for whatever reason I was dropped into the middle of the wilderness with a bow and arrow and some arrows.
You got lucky.
Yeah,
You
that'd be
get
pretty
dropped in the middle. You just happen to have your bow and arrow. You don't have a bow or arrow. No, so you'd have to be really lucky to be dropped with a random bow and arrow.
I think I have one perhaps at my parents' house still, but it's a piece of plastic pretty much. It's
I have
not
a suction cup one.
No. That'd be fun to do. I have enough space in my backyard, but again, neighbors might look at me weird considering that there's an elementary school on the other side of the chain link
true.
bench. But
You could.
but what if school's out? I mean, why not?
It's true.
There's no kids back there.
You could get a dartboard for the side of your garage.
Could do that too.
It'd be fun.
There's a lot of room in this backyard for
So much room
host
for
more
activities.
events. Yeah.
Yeah, giant backyard. Last time I watched fireworks at your place, we end up on the roof.
Yes. My roof has a decent view of the downtown Niagara Falls area.
You should sell
tickets to the roof.
Yeah, there'd be a major liability issue.
Yeah. It was hard to climb that.
It was not fun.
It's very steep.
Yeah, I am not a roof climber. And then last year was my year of roof climbing, 2 roofs in 1 year. Some might call it a living.
The steel roof top at the wedding that we did was pretty cool. I didn't know how much I trusted the roof, but at the same time I didn't exactly care. It was worth it because it was a unique shot. Something that we went out of the way to do.
We did. And it's a good photo. I mean, it's not an award-winning photo, but it got everybody at the wedding there.
But nobody else that we've ever done weddings for has a photo like that, something so unique.
No, not at the actual reception venue, with the entire wedding company, the entire wedding party. You would think that more weddings would have that with drones now, though.
An aerial photo, yeah, I would think so.
But no, that was definitely fun. And maybe the unpopular opinion, but I really like a lot of those photos. The after the sunset photos, the after dark photos. It's a good collection.
We usually don't do so much shooting outdoors once it's dark, I would say. It was a unique situation in which we could play a little bit with that.
Yeah.
Even ones of we did some with the ring and some flowers that were just, I would have never taken pictures like that where it was a lot of fill light with the flash, but at the same time you have a little bit of light coming in from the sunset. It looked different. It was something like we've never done before.
It's all about, I did an experiment and I told Teal about it, and I don't know if she liked me telling her about it, but for some reason we did an engagement shoot in October, November. I can't remember when. And for some reason, I had the raw files on my computer. I don't know why,
Okay.
but I was doing some file cleaning and I saw the raw file. I'm like, huh, I'm going to edit it. And I'm not going to look at hers. I'm just going to do it the way that I would.
And see how different it is.
Just see how different it is. I kind of know what hers looks like,
Yeah.
but I did it. Oh my God.
Way different. Eh?
Very different. I'll send it to you.
I'd love to see the difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big difference.
Yeah, we should have a challenge like that where there's somebody, we go out, we collectively all decide to take a photo, give it
That'd
to
be
each of us and see what
in
the
Florida.
difference is. In Florida, we can do it.
Yeah.
I think we should
Give Melissa the chance
to edit a raw file.
The raw file.
might
We
go-
each take one. She edits all. Like she.
You know,
edits
if you
four.
put it in front of Lightroom, sliders make
it'd
it really
be
easy.
easy enough to do it.
No, it wouldn't be bad at all. I'm questioning. Maybe I should bring one of my film cameras because I could go through a lot of rolls of film, and I might even find somewhere to process it on site in the States.
That's true.
Maybe. I don't know if I'd be that lucky, but
We could Google it.
yeah. I'll look up to see if there's anywhere in the. Well, it doesn't really matter where it is necessarily, but just because I have so much film, I visited my parents and I store film in their deep freezer, and there was probably 1,000 photos worth of film just ready to go, ready to be used at some point. Just because I loaded up on it when I could get it cheap. I should sell it.
You could.
I got it so cheap that it would be profitable for me to sell it on Kijiji for sure, or eBay or anything.
Would you miss it?
No, it's cheap film. It's nothing special. Plus, it's such a hassle to develop color film because that's what it is. I use anything that's black and white, and I'll probably develop all that in the batch at some point. But it's so much easier to develop it yourself.
That'd be fun. I haven't done that since high school.
Develop film? I mean, I'd offer you to come over and help me do it, but it's really not that involved of a process if you're not doing it in a darkroom. Because I imagine I've never had the opportunity to do it in a darkroom, which it sounds pretty neat because you get to
That's
see
how we
it
did
happen
it,
in
yeah.
front of you. For me, it's a lot of, okay, I gotta have everything, all my chemicals, everything mixed in a specific order, have it all set up. And then I need to shut the lights off and like tape off the corners of light in this room and do it in a closet and then do it in a bag inside of a garbage bag and just shake it around for, however long it takes.
We for changing film rolls in film school, we had film tents. Mm-hmm. And they would have gloves, so you would put the film in the tent and you would put your hands in the gloves, and that's how you would do it. And that worked, but it was always nerve-wracking. You didn't want to knock
The gloves would mess with your feel. At least the way that the way that I get the film out of the canister is you pop off the end and you can pull out the whole thing. But getting that onto a reel in perfect darkness with just by feel is a nerve-wracking process because if you screw it up and the film is like touching each other in places, you're gonna get splotches of white over exposed areas or not processed areas, and it just looks terrible. It's nerve-wracking. I've only really messed it up like that once, and it wasn't that bad. I probably lost like 10 photos because the pieces had stuck together inside the reel, which is kind of a pain in the ass, but I wasn't that bothered.
The only time I've done any darkroom developing, as I said, we were showed the principal process in college, but we didn't do any of it. They had an outside company that developed the film reels for us, which was nice. But in high school, we did the standard high school thing and made pinhole cameras and then developed the film in the pinhole camera.
Cool. I'd like to see there be a course for glass grounding, and you got to make your own lens. That would be exciting.
That'd be neat.
Yeah. I'd figure a student with the technology that you have could probably muster something that's the equivalent of about a piece of optics from the maybe 1900 or something. Like you could probably pull it off. It'd be probably a time-consuming process. But I'd like to see how that would work out.
You can make the E-mount, the Eric mount series of lenses.
Unfortunately, that is taken.
Well, the EG mount.
That is not. At that point, most people the old lenses were all just like the threaded ones, which are interesting too, but they don't work the way the modern ones went, because you would probably mount sideways on some cameras just due to different manufacturing spec and things like that. The weird thing about camera lens mounts is there is actually a mathematically ideal way to do it. Like, it's very strange to see some, and I guess it's a lot of the lack of forethinking on certain manufacturers' part. Like, for instance, the longest running camera mount that is still actively used in history, Nikon's F mount, the biggest flaw with it is it's mechanical, which some mounts are, and there's different things to do now too, but a lot of mounts for modern cameras are only electronic, which means the aperture is electronic and other information is electronic. But with Nikon, you still have a manual arm that moves a lever that moves the aperture. And also the rear element size is smaller than Canon and a couple other manufacturers, which essentially limits your ability to have very wide aperture lenses. That's why Nikon has a 50f 1.2 and Canon has some other lenses that are 1.2 and also like an f1 50 millimeter and a few lenses here and there that will work on their system. But mathematically, there's a certain ratio that you could figure out when it's exactly big enough to have a rear element, the size for whatever sensor you're using, as long as you're committed to a certain size of sensor. And it's a certain system where you could integrate just electronic communication between the lens and the camera. I don't know. It's very strange because everybody wants to come up with their own mount, but really everybody should just get on the same page and just use one mount for one for 35 mil, one for APS-C size sensors, one for micro four thirds, and I think that would be the best way to do it because you could have lenses of the exact size you need, as opposed to putting a really big, for example, 24 to 70 lens on an APS-C body. You're wasting so much of that image for a really heavy lens.
I don't know if it'll ever go that way. They seem to be set in their ways. Maybe one day.
Everybody's got their own adapters. I mean, Sony's now got Sony's, I guess, for a long time had a pretty good adapter set up for putting different camera lenses from Canon or Nikon on their stuff, and they worked quite well, although I guess they don't have a mechanical setup to change the aperture in the same way. Although maybe they got a ring on the back, I would imagine.
I don't know.
Even there's even autofocus support, which is pretty neat on through the adapters. It's slow compared to if you put the same Canon lens on a Canon as opposed to the Sony, but it's there. It's closer to having a one lens mount solution.
That's true. That would take it'd be nice. That would take a lot because most people nowadays, in general, if you shoot Canon, you have Canon glass. If you shoot Nikon, you have Nikon glass. If you shoot Sony,
typically, but especially in the realm of filmmaking, because you don't need something with quick autofocus, or there's a lot more. Although you might want image stabilization, but some cameras do that in body. It's nice being able to pick out old glass from one of my favorite types of lenses are the old Leica screw mount lenses that are, and there was a couple of Russian manufacturers that would make stuff like the Jupiter series of lenses. I should almost go get one just because they're such a neat thing to look at, but you can get them for dirt cheap and they have an amazing image quality. And it's something, there's an aesthetic to it that you can't get with a modern, perfected, corrected piece of glass from Canon or Nikon or somebody like that. There's sort of a dreamy look to it. I feel like I should almost grab it, but it'll take too long to go get it.
We could. We're not going anywhere.
I think it's the kind of thing that would be suited to like a proper lens review with nice close-ups of the lens, which is something, I guess we could talk about it a little bit. It'd be nice to increase the presence that whether us individually have online or something more like DH Media has online with having YouTube videos, not just this podcast, which is mostly unrelated, luckily, to DH Media.
Yes.
But yeah, have something that's a little bit more personable, and I think I would love to do lens reviews or something.
When you do lens reviews,
something quirky.
There's lots of things. Teal and I kind of talked about it yesterday, where we should start talking about blogs, but also at the same time, I like the idea of a blog, but I also like the idea of the vlogs as well. I like being able to sit and talk in front of a camera versus.
I'm more gravitated towards vlogging because there's two sides to it. So. Firstly, I don't really want to write super long articles because there's people that already do it so much better than I do. And two, doing it on camera means it lends itself to being concise and you can sort of get a feel to be interesting and more communicative with people than you would with a very disconnected blog post.
The only thing that, and it's such a quick fix, the reason why blog makes sense and the reason why a lot of websites start doing blogs and then don't is because as you read, and I've known this, but I was just reading again, to score a higher rank on search engines, one of the factors is being able to like continuously update your website in the sense that not making changes but have new posts, new things being updated. So blogs work with that, so that way Google never looks at your website like it's a dormant website or something like that.
That makes sense.
So having a blog makes sense, but even doing the vlog works because you're still going to have to write a little blurb about it in the info. Like just, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
And on that note, that makes so much more sense. I know Tila doesn't like her own voice, but I'd much rather sit in front of a camera and talk about how...
But that's a specific thing to her. Like, nobody else cares. Nobody else is bothered by hearing her voice necessarily.
It takes... You've probably noticed over the past 5 weeks a difference in how you talk and project into...
Yeah. It's more so I try to avoid talking over you for like stupid comment. Usually in regular conversation I might say stuff while someone's talking, and it's an entirely acceptable thing to do,
of course,
but it's really annoying to listen to on a podcast. It's terrible. And also being a little bit more emotive too, because I know I'm pretty monotone and stuff, but I, especially with some older friends, I can get really into a conversation, and it's at least more, I would think, is more interesting to watch.
I know I laugh a lot. Some people say I'm too serious, and then I'm with Melissa and she says, yeah, people say you need to smile more, but you laugh all the time. I have a wide range of emotions, but
even this podcast, I think we're still taking it too seriously. And it's not anything really on us. It's just for whatever reason, it's just the atmosphere that fits right now.
We need to add whiskey, and then the seriousness will go away.
I guess. I could get drunk once a week, and I wouldn't feel too bad about it.
Not at all. No, she showed me her baking video, and it was fine. Her voice sounds kind of bad in that, but she also wasn't using an actual microphone.
No,
so
I liked the video quite a lot, and I keep telling her, let me work on something like this with you, but I want to be able to plan it with you from the start, just so we can be as efficient as possible, especially. Operating 2 cameras yourself and having to shoot things twice.
Well, she was originally only operating 1. That was the problem.
Yeah.
She was shooting what she needed to say, and then she would do her inserts of her pouring the flour in.
Yeah, no, that's...
Which is ridiculous.
Too much effort.
When the entire time she would have had, at the very least, had the T2i and her camera. So she had 2 cameras. She just did it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as she started using both, the cuts are a lot more smooth. They're a lot more natural because they actually...
It happened at the same time. You have the continuity available. Being able to set up something like... We have a really fortunate situation in which we have downstairs a kitchen that is... It's like a mock kitchen because we don't use it, but it's perfect for filming things.
Did she bake it down there? Does that oven work down there? No?
No, so I guess it's breaking the secret if she does post that to people who watch it. But no, that's not the oven down there.
There is an oven down there, though, right?
We could turn it on. It's all natural gas operated. But I think the ideal setup for that, because you can really do it up like a studio. You just have it crop out a little bit early from the top.
If you wanted.
If you wanted. There's enough room for chairs in there.
There is.
Live studio audience. But you could fit a camera on the ceiling to have the top down view. Mm-hmm. You could have the same camera as before, and you just have you have a camera operator off to the side that could be well enough hidden, I would think. Yeah. Especially if you light it so you don't get shadows from the operator. It could be a proper cooking show.
It could be.
We could start doing live streams again, especially if we have a way of broadcasting stuff from a DSLR right to Facebook.
As I've been doing the multicam with this, I've been thinking, we're so close. Like, I know there's programs out there that can do it, but once you're able to broadcast live with multiple cameras and like actually switch, that'd be neat.
It would be. And it's an entirely different way because you have it's almost setting expectations lower to begin with, because if people tune into a live stream, they're usually expecting someone on their phone, and then they're not going to complain about that at all unless the person has it flipped portrait or something stupid. But if you're switching between like DSLRs, and it'll look like a cooking show.
Well, it will. I know we have differing opinions on certain aspects, but Raw Talk now they're back in full force. They do it live every Friday.
Oh, it's live now. Mm-hmm. I don't know when it went. I haven't kept up with it.
It went live in the new year.
Yeah, okay.
So they took a little break. They came back. It's kind of retooled. It's only about an hour and 15 minutes now, so it's not as long as it used to be. They used to go on quite a while.
Yeah,
But
sometimes.
it's completely live. It's cut live, and they have their standard angles, but then they also have the TV input. So when they're showing pictures and stuff like that, it'll go full screen. Like, it's very well produced.
Okay.
And just watching them,
That's the other thing I want. Just
they scare me though because the equipment they're using isn't cheap.
no.
Like
but it's never been cheap. They've always used,
their switching unit is able to handle 4K, obviously,
which
and
we
it's-
don't need, but-
It's able to handle multiple 4K inputs, and it was like $8,000.
yeah.
But I feel as though you can connect each one of these. Connect the GoPro to a computer and use the.
This GoPro doesn't have. Some GoPros have HDMI out.
Okay.
This one does not.
Okay. So I feel as though there should be a program that would just handle like USB and HDMI input and be able to do it. Camera 1, 2, 3.
But what are you plugging these devices into? That's the question. Because this program is on your computer. Fine. You don't have an HDMI input on your computer. You have an output, right? Even
So there'd have to be a box. There'd have to be
yeah, because even on my desktop computer with a full size graphics card and 6 different video outs, there's no video in. That's more of like a capture card kind of thing, which I don't. It would technically be like a capture card at that point that we'd be going for, but with multiple inputs that are switchable. It's weird because most people who use capture cards maybe play video games for the sort of a YouTube channel or something, and in which case they might capture multiple streams, but those are individual machines with their own capture cards and they just take the video from that and edit it in a regular editing program. It's not a switcher. So so it's different. It's an entirely different problem. I think we need to find somebody who's doing that, but at a level that is more similar to where we want to be.
There's a
not
Niagara
4K.
company called WeStream, WeeStream,
Okay.
and they do it. They do live events. There's only one small problem,
What's that?
and this is nothing against them, but I've watched a lot of it, and it sucks.
Okay. Why does it suck?
The video, like, if you're gonna do it, I don't know if they don't want to broadcast it in HD or something like that, but I've never seen it in full HD. I've never seen something that looks like an alternative to saying, hey, we're doing a new Welland Canal unveiling, or we're doing a new plaque unveiling at the Welland Canal. Maybe we should get Kojiko to come out and cover it. No, we'll just get WeStream. No, I'd much rather you have Kojiko because it would look better.
It would look good if Koji did it.
But they come out and I feel.
What does it look like? I mean, I've seen live streams of funerals, so I have something to compare it to as far as bad goes.
Maybe I was expecting more, but every time, because they'll advertise for weddings too, so they kind of have, with respect to the fact that now I'm talking about a competitor almost, but
More reason to trash talk them. Is it like one camera angle? Is that the issue, or is it like really
Some of
zoomed
them-
out or something?
some of them it seems like there's only one camera, which
Okay.
now, if they didn't have a multi-camera setup, Facebook Live almost negates that entire need. If you're only going to have one camera,
You just
do
hold
it
your phone
yourself.
up, yeah.
well, their website's not being responsive, so that's a good thing. Not a good thing, but come on.
If they're a competitor, it could be a good thing.
Oh, wait, there we go. I think. WeStream. Welcome to WeStream. This isn't a sponsored video.
I think that's evident. from how it's-
WEE. our Ontario's premier professional live streaming company. We uses tiny wireless cameras to stream your events from multiple angles in stunning HD.
Sure.
We do it all: sports, weddings, meetings, concerts, parades, ceremonies, parties, and nobody does it better.
Why do they emphasize tiny cameras
Because I have a feeling that they're using their
webcams.
phones.
of phones?
Blog pricing services.
No way they could get away with that.
Live sport. Okay, thank you for the services. I want samples. Welland Canal Fallen Workers Memorial. Maybe
I guess that is a pretty bad place to fall. I've seen workers like on the scaffolds before, working in there.
I have a bad feeling this may end up being better than I remember it.
This is not good so far, so you have that part right.
So far it's just one shot.
It looks like if they put a camera on the lawn outside of a venue that's having an event and just left it there. Oh, and there's pictures, and there's a camera operator standing in front of a reflective memorial stone
Yep.
in the shot. Why does anybody want to see that?
Well, to be fair, the White House. Well, CNN will go live before a press conference at the White House, and they'll be live an hour before anybody goes up to talk. You can watch on
They'd be
Facebook.
filling the air with something else, though.
No,
Wouldn't
if you watch live on Facebook,
Really?
I did it after the school shooting. Waiting, well, I watched it after the fact, but I had to scrub through an hour of the podium with people testing test 1 2 3 4 for an hour to hear Trump talk for 15 minutes. It was not worth it.
they? Did you expect it to be worth it?
To you, those whose names are lost in history.
It's not bad, at least but it's really small. Why is
The
the
sons and daughters.
the picture really small, 1x1 square? Oh, that's right, because they're gonna put in another camera angle later. That's a different size that takes up the rest of the screen.
But you wouldn't really do this on TV. You'd be cutting.
between it. It's strange. It's like they're using a template in the software that they're using or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we have mentioned and talked before about doing like live streamed weddings, and
Yeah.
I mean, good for them. They're doing it. This is a wedding.
Audio quality sucks. Just start off, I can tell this isn't gonna be good.
But it's already a different style than we would ever end up doing.
No, the multiple camera angles with on the same screen doesn't really make sense. Like, why were they showing like the corridor to get into the place while everybody's already sitting down at the venue?
And you're not like, yeah, I guess at one point this was live,
Yeah.
but you're
The
not.
video quality is still underwhelming.
Yeah.
Like, that white dress looks like it's a washed out yellow.
And there's an angle of,
Camera positions are not bad.
but because they're up above, I don't know what they'd be using, but they're obviously small, like they said, cameras. What if they say?
It's probably reasonably. It can probably be done quite easily if you just have like a bunch of webcams or something that's hooked up to
Oh,
a computer, because that's easy enough to set up.
or an iPad?
An iPad with a Rode microphone attached to the kit. Please tell me that's just his monitor. Maybe it's just his monitor.
I don't know.
Why would he film with an iPad?
There's another iPad.
Oh no.
I don't know. If
There's his
anybody from
problem.
WeStream, this could be interesting. If anybody from WeStream hears this, contact us. Let's talk. Let's see how you do this.
We can up this game quite a bit.
Because, you know, we have dreams and ambitions. I've never met any of these guys. They're Niagara based too,
Yeah.
I believe. But no, I see them every now and then, and I'm just not impressed by what they do. But I also haven't found out, you know, what their pricing is, because they don't have any type of starting pricing. So
You could email them, perhaps.
I could. Be interesting. We just kind of talk bad about them. Not really, but it'd be interesting to see why they do things the way they do.
Maybe there is a good logistical reason. I guess you've noticed, and so probably is everybody else. I just took out my headphones just 'cause I'd like to feel what it's like to talk without them, because I know my audio levels are fine. I never adjust them during the podcast. It is entirely different.
It is.
It's like the room just got way bigger, and you get all the echoes of the room and everything.
But theoretically, it's fine.
It is. I mean, unless one of our microphones dies, but
Well, I guess that's true.
I think I'm still at 2 bars. How are you doing?
I'm at 1. I'll leave mine on
Probably a good idea.
just in case.
Which I know you're wearing just a fairly cheap pair of Sony's, I suppose, to monitor, because you don't really need crazy headphones to tell that your mic is still working.
That's true.
But what do you normally use if you were editing a wedding?
Much to the annoyance of Justin, just my,
Speakers?
speakers.
Okay. It's one way to do it, I suppose.
I'll do it a few different ways. To start, I'll use the speakers, and then I will export I always do a test on because I want to make sure that I have my bases covered. I'm assuming that no bride is going to watch their video wearing headphones. It seems kind of weird.
It's true, but at the same time, nobody listens to their favorite album on studio monitor speakers, but you use them anyways to gauge the way it sounds.
Yeah. So I gauge the way the wedding sounds 3 different ways. I gauge based on my regular kind of middle of the road computer monitor or computer speakers.
Okay.
I will then also, I guess it's 4 ways. I will then also unplug the speakers and just let my computer run through, kind of see how it sounds with like just one general output. And then I always make sure before the wedding video is delivered that I listen to quite often the beginning of the ceremony with my surround sound speakers, even though it's not edited in surround sound. It plays all the way around, so at least I can kind of hear on a higher, not high end, but a higher end type model, and then just the speakers in my TV. So it's not a long process. It takes all of 20 minutes less.
Is the file in stereo?
No.
No. It wouldn't make sense for the most part for most of the microphones, although our Zoom microphones are pretty good for stereo. In fact, I should probably, from one side, I'm currently, I guess I would be in their right ear. And then if I move over here, I should be in their left ear. And I can even hear it in my own headphones a little bit, the separation of the speakers.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
It's very subtle. I feel like it'll be more defined if I was in the final product. Do you watch any ASMR stuff ever? No. Have you watched? You've never even seen a single video like that?
I don't even know what we're talking about.
Perfect. That's great. I get to introduce you to this internet phenomenon. Okay.
I feel like I might, though, know what you're talking about, but explain, and I'll see if I do.
So, I feel like a hipster, because I knew about this before anybody had a name for it, pretty much.
Okay.
It might have been around 2009 or something, but for whatever reason, I was gravitated to, before bed, watching certain YouTube videos that would typically deal with some really relaxing kind of content to me, just because it would be stuff like, it could be a review of a specific camera, or like, I guess I wasn't really into cameras like that, but something of technology, but not in like a regular review way where you have like a very excited reviewer. It would be more like, if you've ever watched a Japanese review of some kind of piece of technology, God, the look on your face, you think this is going somewhere else. I've seen in Japan people who would take like an item they have listed on eBay, and they pick it up, and they have the camera very close to it. You only see the object, and they'll go over things, and they'll talk very softly, very methodically, specific details about things. And then there's a 3-contact sensor at the bottom, and then they'll open the back of the door of the film camera, and they'll be like, then hinges open, clearly. Like they'll describe what they're doing, and it's sort of relaxing to watch, and you learn a bit about the products, which I have an interest in. But then it transitioned from there to like watching. There's a lot of self-help videos like, oh, this is how to like massage your arm when it hurts or whatever, and like specific things. And I always found that stuff really relaxing. And then there was this group of people online that started talking about this weird sensation that they would have when they're watching these kind of videos. And eventually the name that was decided upon, which is it's not a scientific thing at all, like just shortened as ASMR, autonomic sensory meridian response. Essentially people describe it as like tingles in their, their spine or their head or whatever. It's just sort of like a euphoric feeling. If you should look up some of these videos because they also stem into people experimenting with binaural recordings.
I've done that.
Which is so cool. I don't know. Have you ever heard the, there's a really famous one that it's like a barber shop or something, or like I don't know, some kind of, there's a place where you go to get your virtual haircut. No, you should listen to it after. It's one of the first examples I could find. And it's strangely immersive and satisfying at the same time, where you're directed into this hairdressing place at this barbershop, and they have you walk in and you could hear the sink running and somebody else in the background, and there's somebody who decides to play music, and they sit you down and they go and they have scissors and you can hear them spatially exactly. You close your eyes and you're like, that's above the left part of my head, and it's behind me now, and you can get this feeling of it. It's very immersive.
That's neat. The only thing I've really experimented with is I've done not so much anymore, but I used to subscribe to somebody on YouTube who would do, it's not self-hypnosis because they'd be doing it yourself, but it's not stage hypnosis. So it would just be like therapeutic hypnosis, but just, like calming almost
like a meditation
type thing.
Those can fall into that category too if it's a very soft spoken.
Oh yeah, 100%, and it does work, and it's amazing.
It's this weird thing where at first it was a lot of videos like that where people would report this ASMR thing going on. I don't know, it's been many, many years, probably blown up in the past 5-6 years, where people would make intentional ASMR. They would do things where they'd they'd get like an object, like a book, and they would just flip through pages and describe something about it to you, or play with, scissors, or just something that creates a really weird sound. Spray bottles, like the shh sound. You can hear it different, on the different parts of your head.
This is going to be a really weird callback, but you've talked about it before. When we were shooting the Beatty's printer video, and you were manning the boom mic.
Yes.
And Monica had that mango juice, and you put the boom mic.
That was
when she opened
I remember
it
that.
up, that you had mentioned that at that point, right? Because that would.
I probably would have.
Yeah. Okay.
It's one of those things that's extremely. It was interesting to listen through a microphone, and it's not even the same as real life. There's some setups that are so elaborate for this stuff that people get these mannequin heads that have anatomically correct ears, and the microphones are placed deep in the ear canal, and it will mimic the exact way that the sound would travel to a viewer, because the entire way that humans can distinct where anything is in any particular direction is because of the difference of timing from one ear to the other. And you can mimic that effect entirely with one of these like mannequin heads that has an anatomically correct ear. It's very strange. Or people will also get these. You put them in, they look like earbuds, but they're microphones, and they go in your ears. And there's many different ways of doing it, but it sounds kind of weird because you can hear like if they go to swallow saliva in a very gross way. You can get every detail of it. It's this entire. I would almost want to do a podcast in a binaural setup. But it would only work if you had the microphone sort of position. You would be moving around the microphones or something, or there'd be some kind of movement involved. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless. It's just stereo.
When I was younger, when I first started getting into hypnosis stuff, I bought a CD, and it was a memory. It was from the hypnotist that inspired me to do what I used to do, and it was all based on memory. And I should really get back into it because it did work. It would teach you how to recall things, not necessarily like long articles, but just the stupid things that sometimes people forget, especially nowadays.
Like what?
Like phone numbers.
Okay.
For the most part, and now that I'm talking about this, like I will not be able to remember your phone number, but yours always throws me off, the 705 number.
Different area code.
But no, I know all my immediate family's phone numbers, just because
Makes sense.
I can't remember how my aunts have always had the same number, and I've learned them and I know them. But no, anything, the mind is interesting.
In neurobiology class, we explored a little bit of the limitations where there's like humans will remember certain things better if you can segment them. For instance, phone numbers are good because sure, it's a certain amount of numbers. I guess it depends if you want to include area codes and things, but it's easy because they're grouped. Like area code's 3 numbers, then you have another 3-digit code and a 4-digit code. Your brain remembers that as if it was only 3 different things and not the individual numbers
So
itself.
like for me, 519 is considered one.
Yeah, it's like one unit, pretty much. And that's how people can trick themselves into memorizing crazy amounts of digits of pi or something like that, where you just can break it down to some kind of sequence where your brain can think of a lot of numbers as just one thing.
3.14159.
Yeah.
Think. That's
I
as
think
far as I
two
can-
six are the next numbers, and there's a lot of scrutiny that comes with it too, because we got to recall it properly on a podcast where you're being recorded.
Well, I know it's 3.14. That's as far as I can guarantee, but I do think it's 3.1459.
I think it's 3.141
159.
5926. I'm almost curious now. I want to see what it is. I don't even. Does the regular Apple calculator have pi available?
No.
You need a scientific one.
Actually, I know the Apple calculator, if I turn it sideways.
I think I was right. 3.14159. Oh yeah, 26, and then the next number is 5, and that's as many digits as you can get displayed.
I lied. If you turn it sideways, it's
there.
scientific.
Oh, I wonder what happened. Oh, that makes life easier. I don't even think this is the default Android calculator, but it's the one that comes with an Asus phone. And I thought you always have to slide over to get certain functions, but no, you can just turn it and you get the all right there.
Okay, how far does your pi go on sideways?
Does it get extra digits? It does. 3.1415926535898.
9.8.
Yeah.
It rounded.
Probably.
I get 3.141592653589793.
9, 7. Yeah, so you get a couple extra digits. Well, I mean, yours probably rounded too, but yeah.
Well, you would have rounded, but
Later in the game.
yeah, that's neat. That is it. I was thinking about this the other day. It's a very weird thing to worry about, but when you were younger, I'm assuming you were good with math.
Nah.
Were you okay with
Yeah,
math, like
right
in
up
high
until
school?
I'd say I'd pretty much lost the plot by the time we got to advanced functions in grade 12. I didn't care anymore. I like calculus. That was pretty good.
What did our parents do? What am I going to do when I have children and they need help with their math homework? I had a thought the other day and now I'm a little worried
Why is that?
because I wasn't all that good to begin with.
Fair enough.
I'm going to have to
Couldn't
take a
have been-
refresher course.
I don't think I could be any worse than my parents. Just because, I feel like I would usually ask my dad, because my mom would just be like, ask your dad, he can do math. And he would just get frustrated at some point. Like, he would know how to do things, but then the way that the school is teaching me to do them
Yeah.
was not the same as the way that he was taught to do them. But at the same time, my dad's the kind of guy that he probably hasn't read a book in his entire adult life. So he just doesn't care to keep up with that stuff. Whereas I feel like if they changed the way that they taught kids math, I'd probably know about it and know the general premise of it.
My aunt was a math teacher, so she was the one that I would go to. I will not be able to teach like she did. And thankfully she taught as well as she did, because there were some things that I didn't get. I was never good with a lot of the more advanced math.
A lot of the stuff that was tricky was just the longhand stuff. Like if you wanted to do long division or something, I don't even remember how to do that. But I know that I don't need to know how to do that because I have a calculator.
I know, that's the problem. Back then, and I mean, we graduated at slightly different times. I remember even things back then, we were always taught, oh, you have to have good cursive. Nobody fucking writes cursive anymore.
No.
And I don't know if it's my generation or if it's a generation before me or after me, but nobody writes cursive anymore.
No.
And therefore, why did I learn it? I have a signature, and I have a
That's useful. I use that a lot.
I have a very defined signature for writing checks. My last name is more or less a scribble at this point, but it's
With
the
an
same,
apostrophe.
with an apostrophe, but it's the same scribble every time. But I don't write cursive. I don't even handwrite anymore, really, because people don't like my handwriting. So I can almost
It's
see.
such a specific thing too, because everybody does it a bit differently, and I hate reading handwriting for that purpose, just because people are insulted if you ask them about their handwriting or like what's this word? They are not gonna have any of that.
No, I know. So maybe I should ask my I guess I'll be able to watch it with my nephews, see how they progress as far as math goes, because maybe by then our kids will be learning a different type of math. Because I don't know, if you have machines, yes, you have to learn the fundamentals, but if you have an easy access to something that is able to do it like that,
It really, the calculator part makes sense for. Basically, it makes sense for stuff that would take long, like division and division and multiplication. Because really, adding things and subtracting things is never going to be. It's probably faster just to do it by hand. But when it comes to, if you're in high school and you're learning about logarithms or something like that, it was never expected that anybody did that by hand. Because I was never even taught the method to do that. You just use the calculator because it is so much quicker than it would be to do it by hand. And yeah, there's rules like, oh, if there's a certain logarithm with a 1 or something, you know what the answer is going to be immediately or whatever. But other than the shortcuts, there's really nothing to worry about.
have schools become more politically correct? I mean, I know they have in some areas, but you know how people have the whole participation award?
Yeah.
Because when we went to school, you'd always get marks for showing your work. That's kind of like participating.
Kind of.
You'd get marks for participating.
I didn't like that if you got the answer right, but if you didn't show your work, they wouldn't give you perfect.
Exactly.
I didn't like that. But at the same time, it made sense because it would give you an extra opportunity to get marks for students who would mess up along the way.
Because if you get the concept, you should be able to do it. I think. I don't know.
Well, I mean, math is one of those things that you would have to write out because there's lots of intermediate steps. By the time you get to high school, especially because you're going to be working, you get a quadratic equation that you got to solve or something. So it's not like you can just do that in one line.
I hope my children are artistic.
I hear there's big money in that.
No. Well, I don't know.
Only if you're the best of the best. One thing, since I know you are a prolific reader, have you heard of
Sort of.
Jordan Peterson's 12 Steps for Life?
I almost bought it.
Do it.
Did you read it?
Probably halfway through.
Audiobook?
Audiobook. Just because I don't deal with paper anymore.
I feel like I should get the audiobook. I'd get through it a lot more. That was.
It
did
is-
you hear the podcast with him recently with Joe Rogan? Like it was a week ago.
No, I haven't heard that one then.
Listen to it.
I've heard his other. He's on there before.
Yeah, the most recent one's really good.
Yeah, they
And
talk
he was-
about the book.
He was talking about the book a little bit, and that's what turned me on to the book. Like, I'll stop.
I've heard some of his lectures in which he talked about topics that are also in the book. Book is presented entirely differently, and it is because he has the time to explain things. It is amazing.
I know it's on my list. I was actually thinking about getting it because I when I go away on vacation, a lot of times I'll write, and I do want to write while we're away, but I also want to read something. And
I am totally for if we can pull it off. Just instead of listening to music on part of the trip, why don't we just finish? Why don't we do a book? Like, because you could fit a book in and still listen to music for more than half the trip. I don't know if we can all agree on a book, but I don't even care. I'm not that picky. I would pretty much listen to anything that's a decent seller on Audible.
Fire and Fury.
Honestly, I would listen to it. I don't care.
That was on the shelves too. I was in Walmart shopping for books or for a present, and I saw it, and they only have it in hardcover. Like, I don't want to spend $45 on it.
40. Yeah, no, I can't do that.
I want the book, but I don't. If it's gonna be that much,
I do love collecting books, but I think I should make a promise to myself that I will never buy a new book ever again. I'll shop in used bookshops because it's a much more entertaining experience anyways.
well, I told Tila this yesterday. I know you're not doing it anymore, at least in that capacity, but I finally get it. I was in Welland. I was going to a movie, saw Peter Rabbit.
Okay.
Go see it. It's funny. It's actually
I've
really
heard that
good.
There's a lot of controversy about it too.
I know there is, but it's funny. The controversy is because they kind of...
There's a murder plot
there is a murder plot.
Allergen. Yeah.
Yeah, and
But the guy was literally trying to kill these rabbits, so you can't feel too sorry for him.
the big thing, the rabbits kind of almost kill him because of his allergy.
Yeah.
But even in the movie, there's a point in the movie, Peter Rabbit breaks the fourth wall and says, "We don't want to get letters for this."
No.
Yeah.
And then they do.
And then they do.
Of course.
So they knew, but it was really funny. Yeah. It was, I would recommend go see it, especially since, cute animals.
Sure. I'd watch it.
It was cute. Now, they had a trailer and RV show at the Welland Mall in the old Target.
Okay.
So I went with Melissa just to look. And I haven't been in too many livable trailers that aren't stationary, like my parents' vacation trailer.
Yeah.
Or ones that are mobile, like my stepsister's camping trailer, which is smaller. But I saw some, and for the first time ever, with a few modifications, I saw actually being able to live in a tiny house. For the first time ever.
What made your mind change?
How well designed these trailers were. See, I have no desire to build one. And that's just it.
Well, it's like building a house, but on a smaller scale.
Which out of, I mean, if I had to build anything between a house and a tiny house, it'd be more interesting to build the tiny house. But I saw just really, really good space economy, making the most out of small spaces. With there were some trailers that were too small. Like I wouldn't be able to do it. And then there were some where I was looking and I was thinking, right now, if I had to, the only thing I would need, because I have the iMac, is I need a deck. Like I need a place. And most of them didn't have the space. One comfortably had the space for dining room table or like small table, chair, small TV. And then there was one trailer that had just 2 extra lounge chairs. I'm like, you got rid of this. You put a desk and a desktop. And that was the trailer where it had a nice enough.
If you had to, did they tell you how long this trailer was? This camper? No.
I didn't look at the specs, but they were very nicely designed.
Okay. I guess that is somewhat new. I did want to build a tiny house at one point. I still do. I still think I would use something like that. It's not practical just because it'd be nice to have a house that a real house to renovate and, do and maybe rent it out to somebody eventually. But the thing with the tiny houses is I find you have to go on the bigger side to make it useful for long-term living, because a lot of campers are maybe like 16 feet long. And campers in and of themselves are restricted because they're always one floor. There's like no loft area in a camper, and they always feel small. A camper feels like a camper.
These ones didn't, which is what surprised me.
But the tiny house is different because it's not a aluminum bubble. It's a square. It's a rectangular house, and people often, at least for I know myself, I wanted to get the maximum dimensions I could legally, because there's a height restriction of about 13 feet or something, 13 and a half, I don't know, something like that, which is the max height you can work at. And there's certain length restrictions too on the trailers you can get, but I was looking at 24-foot trailers. Like if you've been on like a 24-foot boat, that's big. That's huge. So with that amount of space and with that amount of height, you're dealing with a place that you could now put the sleeping area up in a loft. So that's out of the way because most campers, well, all campers have the bed at the back or whatever, and it's a bedroom. It takes up way too much space. You lose a lot of useful space. Tiny home, that's out of the way. If you want to, now you can have an office the size of a bedroom, and that you would find in a camper. That and the actual bathroom situation too. I was gonna go really crazy. Like I really want a nice bathroom, so I would probably get something with like a tiled setup, and you would have like a window that goes to the outside, or
Well, that with those trailers, there were some that were just too small, and the small ones had like the toilet in the shower, like really small portable.
yeah. I never liked that too much.
And some of them, it would be kind of what you would expect in a camper where just a little bit of space, you open the door, small sink, toilet, shower.
Yeah.
And then some, there was enough space to actually stand and like shave in the mirror. Like,
I think the way that I organized it, it was like a minimum of about 3.5 to 4 feet wide, so there's enough room to walk. And it was probably going to be like 8 feet long, so you could lay down on the bathroom floor comfortably.
but I mentioned it just because I always thought it was weird, mainly because I have a lot of stuff. And I have been slowly going through purging things that I absolutely don't need.
You have a lot of large furniture, which is the
Yes.
tricky part.
None of which, like, I mean, people make fun of me, but the furniture itself was a victim of circumstance. I needed well, for the longest time, I went to a couch. And people would make fun of me for not having a couch. I finally get a couch. People make fun of the couch. I don't need the couch. I didn't need the couch. I had big chairs, but that's because they were given to me. I used them. I do have an emotional connection with them, but if I absolutely had to, or if I found a house or a tiny house where I'm like, I want to live here, or if I built it, I could do without the chairs. And I'm not saying I would get rid of my things. I'd put them in storage.
Yes.
Because at one point, I'm going to have a house.
That's also the premise of getting a house first before the tiny house is, even if I rent it out to people, I could build a heated shed in relatively little time. I feel like
Or
I
a
have
sound
the
studio.
expertise required, or a studio or whatever. The biggest thing is having enough space to do that, because the house doesn't need to be big if I'm renting it out to somebody else. So it's not the biggest deal in the world. I don't know. It makes more sense to do it in that specific order, and that's why I decided on doing that.
Well, I mean, it all depends on how you were going to go about things. The idea to have a tiny house or buy a plot of land, build a tiny house, and be affordable that way is a good idea.
If you have money to buy land,
Yes.
because you can't get a mortgage for land.
No. So that's the problem. And I mean, Tila asked me if you guys could park the tiny house in my garage or my parking or driveway, which would have helped, but I don't have the driveway yet.
No, not yet.
Which it's all on the cards. It's all on the table. It's just, as we've talked about before, there's more variables at play. We were loading real estate videos yesterday, just because we saw some really bad ones, we saw some really good ones,
Okay.
and we were talking about what makes a good one good, what makes a bad one bad, and how real estate photography in general is nice if you can do it, but from what I understand, it's very hard to make a career out of it. If you find a new real estate agent, you get in with them, or you know somebody, maybe.
Maybe.
And the reason why it's good is because real estate companies, the head offices, will pay for a certain percentage of the photos. So the agent only has to pay X percentage as well.
And a lot of times you can split that with the clients
Yes.
that are selling their house.
Now, my aunt, who is a real estate agent in Toronto, deals with a photography company that I told her I would do it, but I can't compete with their pricing
Okay.
at all. And when you think about it, nobody can. Like it's an agency, so this real estate photographer potentially might be doing 10 houses a day in Toronto.
Yeah.
Maybe it's feasible then. But then they're in Toronto, so unless they live elsewhere, I don't think it's
You don't
feasible
think they can...
because the agency charges like $80 to $100 for the photos, which isn't the worst thing, but the photographer's not getting that.
No.
And the agency makes a spread for the real estate agent. So it's not just taking the photos, it's designing a spread. So like a full page wide of the house and then with the photos. I know it's obviously a template, but you still have to take the time to put in
It's
the
a little
photos
bit of
and
graphic
whatnot.
design that goes into that.
Yeah. But I can't compete with that.
No.
To do it occasionally, that'd be nice, but there's no money in real estate photography, I don't think.
The weird thing about you saying that is, I don't know where these people are getting statistics from, but that's actually the most lucrative type of photography as reported, because they say the average, I've seen things say like the average photographer makes $40,000 to $50,000 a year in wherever the heck it was in America. Somebody who can do this full time. The average real estate photographer, with that caveat, was making closer to 74
in America.
in wherever it was in America.
Okay. It could be different. I mean,
I don't know. Like somebody who makes a full time thing out of that, you'd think there'd be more money in real estate almost, because there'd be a lot more. There's a lot more money on the table to bargain with.
There
You're selling
is.
a house, right? So there's a.
But there's a
chunk of
problem
that.
with that, and I don't know if it's a Canadian thing. It might be just a Niagara thing.
Okay.
Because my parents say you should do real estate. You should do real estate. I try to talk to real estate agents all the time. I've talked to a few on Instagram. They're like, like to keep our options open. We'll let you know. They never get back in touch. How many times do you message somebody before it's pestering? You don't want to burn a bridge, especially if eventually I'm going to buy a house.
When I was like 19, I used to go to the Century 21 and I would try to convince every agent I could to do real estate photography. None of them took me
Right.
seriously.
But you see even professional real estate ads on Royal LePage or Remax, and they're crap photos. So the
Yeah.
agents are getting a camera themselves and just taking the photos.
And the standard's so low that nobody cares anyways.
Exactly. So in certain parts of the states, sure, you might be able to make a good living. Maybe there's a regulation there. I don't know. Maybe I just don't know how it works, but I have yet to find a real estate agent who would even be willing to talk to me. I have real estate photo prices on my website or on our website for people that may want to, but they're not $60
No.
because there's time involved in that.
There's a lot of driving around too. Like if it was a full time thing, yeah, you gotta change location every time you're gonna do another shoot. So it's a lot of driving around. A lot of times setting up stuff. There's a lot of lighting involved in real estate photography. Like I would like to go to the. I would probably get like 8 speed lights or something, because you could do the trick where you stick them all behind the window, or do the opposite. So you could make fake sunlight in certain situations if you need to.
I may have a project for you actually.
Really.
That B&B. When she gets back, I talked about it before, and then she went to Italy, and then
Okay.
I finally got the proposal. There's a bed and breakfast in Niagara on the Lake that we might be doing promo photos for.
Nice.
So I'll let you.
I love getting creative with that kind of stuff.
I'll let you go nuts with it.
Plus, it'd be so good to just have a real estate photography that has no HDR in it.
Yeah.
That's if you see HDR in the listings, you know it's professional, but that's about the only reason. These professionals, all they do is HDR
Yeah.
for some reason.
So no, she has 3 rooms. She needs photograph. Well, if she goes one way, she needs. Talking about this will either be working for her by the time this one comes out, or she won't be interested. So I don't feel bad talking about it.
Not bad.
But she's either going to need just photos of the rooms, like multiple different angles or a few different angles, or she's going to go an upgraded way and have photos of the rooms and also photos of the smaller parts, like her she has a kitchenette in the smaller rooms just for Instagram and Facebook type thing. But yeah, I thought it'd be something you would like, and I'd like to come and help out, because it's a neat little project, and it's a very nice B&B. So
It'd be something different for sure.
yeah, but that's on the table. Real estate, I don't know, but we ended up doing normal everything. Okay.
Yeah, everything's fine. We've been recording for over 2 hours.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I only knew because I was getting hungry. That's about it.
Oh yeah! Wow. Okay. Well, final point. Real estate videos. We were going through them, kind of to go back to the tiny house, and we accidentally ended up on a $6 million house in Grimsby.
Okay.
Beautiful house.
Probably on a vineyard.
No, just over the escarpment, overlooking Lake Ontario and whatnot.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Nice areas up in the hills.
Stunning indoor pool with a fountain in the pool.
With a fountain, all right.
Drop down 100-foot screen in front of the pool. 8 fireplaces.
8 fireplaces.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
So very big. And we went down the rabbit hole of really expensive houses and finally got to the point where this is pointless. Like, these are not attractive to us because we're making fun of how
Over the
top it is. And every video is kind of like, you've worked hard all your life. Now get something you really deserve. No, if
That's
you
like
work
the
hard,
worst audience to sell it to, because these are people that are just going to put themselves so into debt because they can't actually afford a place like that, I would imagine.
And then if you've worked hard all your life, you're buying a vacation home in the like, you're not buying
Grimsby.
a $6 million. Like, that's insane.
No.
And
You'd
then
be better
there's-
off with a $200,000 house in California.
Yeah. Beautiful homes, pointlessly beautiful homes. I don't need 2 wine cellars.
No. God, that's amazing. I want to visit one of these houses.
Well, exactly.
Get lost in it.
They'd be cool to see.
Yeah.
But then we went back to the normal homes, and it's kind of nice to see kind of where you are mentally, because you see smaller homes and it's like, yeah, those are nice. That's enough. And I think that's very important. And people say, you know, I'm cheap or maybe greedy or whatever, but no, smaller homes, I'm okay with it. It's enough. And I don't need 8 fireplaces or 12 bedrooms.
No.
And a lot of the videos were actual dramatized real estate videos. So there'd be a family, or in one of the videos, a couple acting in the house.
So you want to never see your spouse? Just
Well,
live in
exactly.
separate parts of the house?
But if you're buying a $6 million house, you're not working from home. I don't think. You're out making deals.
I guess.
I would think. You're not.
Or you're just born into money. I don't know.
Yes. But if you're buying a $6 million house, you're not pouring yourself a cappuccino, getting a croissant, going to your desk, your very sexy wife or girlfriend comes out of the pool, walks on your tile floor with no shoes on. Like, you would wear proper footwear. You wouldn't want to get water on the tiles.
No, of
I'm
course
just
not.
saying. And then she's going to take your croissant and espresso. Like, it was just, some of the narratives were really weird.
I'm sure somebody had fun filming it.
I'm sure for homes like that, I hope they made good money doing those videos. Some of the drone
Should rent
shots,
it.
like some of the views, that's enough. There was
If the
one
house
had
is that big, why not just rent the helicopter?
Well, it's true. Like the one house had a widow's peak or a crow's nest.
Crow's
or
nest.
whatever.
That would make more sense.
But it was an enclosed one.
It has
on
a
the top.
hairline. There might be a weird house.
But it was, you would be able to see over the escarpment from that view. That'd be nice.
It would be. The one community I was building for, it was for Empire Communities. Amazing place because it is on top of the escarpment and you could theoretically see very far. But it's a subdivision. So all your neighbors' houses are in front of you. And if you're lucky enough to be at the northern tip of it, as you could see, probably great views. Probably a lot more expensive lots. But
Well, I'm assuming that's how it goes because Grimsby now is getting built up with condos and stuff like that. And
Trying
I
to get
guess
that vertical
I guess
space.
the higher they go, the more they're allowed to say, "Hey, these are water view or waterfront
floor
lake
premium.
view."
That's what they get you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Toronto's gonna kill Niagara. It's just gonna be a bunch of Torontonians. It's gonna be Toronto South.
I get to meet them all when they come and visit their houses. And I just ask them, like, are you going to live here? And then they're just usually like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna rent it.
Yep, that's
Or it is yes. And it's, yes, I'm going to move in with my 4 children that are all spoiled brats and
Yep.
don't appreciate the amount of money I have.
No, that's. Well, I'm sure you went to school. I know we're going long, but you went to school with probably some entitled people. Would you say?
Didn't hang out with any of them
No.
for particularly long.
I guess you wouldn't have had to. I went to school with entitled.
Yeah.
And then we had to work with them, and that wasn't great.
That's even worse in film because, well, actors.
Actors, yeah, some actors get in and like have an ego about them, but film entitled, my parents bought me, back then, if you had a brand new 5D Mark II in 2010,
Yeah,
that's badass.
that would be the thing.
Yeah.
See, there's definitely a way to look entitled for that. For biology students, it's the way that you act entitled for that is you tell everybody that you're going to go to med school, which only has two outcomes. Either one, you look at them and you're like, no, you're going to drop out. Or you're just like, yeah, this person is outdoing my grades like you wouldn't believe. So I believe them. It's pretty straightforward to solve whether their ego is in check or not.
I thought it was cool when I started film school because I did my 36-hour work term with A&W head office when I flew across Canada with them. And I got to be their videographer and their social media correspondent, which is cool. I actually got to talk to Lady Gaga.
Really?
Yeah, over Twitter. Because she was commenting on the A&W feed and we were talking back and forth. Yeah. How I've fallen. But that was neat, and I thought that was a big deal. And then when the first week of school, when we were sharing experiences, I had said that, and then somebody else's father worked on whatever Jimmy Fallon had before The Late Show. And I'm like,
of course.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
And that's what she's doing now. So, I mean, good for her. You know your connections. That's good.
Helps when you have them before you even go in, too.
Yeah. You kind of built into it. I went to school with somebody whose father owns a big business in Tilsonburg, who at one point was competing with my father, and he never wanted to get into his father's business. But lo and behold, he's doing it now. And I feel like he might have changed to the point where he can respect the actual business now.
Okay.
But there's just it feels it's like the 1960s thing. I just feel like he sold out. It's sold out to the man.
Gave up on the arts.
Well, he was never artistic, but he wanted to do his own thing. But it's like those old movies where you let your family business crumple if you don't come back home to tend to it. Mm-hmm. So no, he's doing it, and now it's the third generation business. So, which I guess is important.
It does sound well. Once you've bridged the gap from one generation to the next, clearly it's going to keep going for a while.
Yeah. If I have a kid and he wants to be a photographer, that's fine, but he is starting at the bottom. He's going to be a DH Media lackey.
Gotta have somebody to carry your lights around.
You do. Yeah. Jesse Jr., let's go. Except that wouldn't be his name.
I would hope not.
No.
Although JJ would work.
Yeah.
No.
Something else is better, just as long as it's Dulster. The last one that can keep this going.
It's all on you.
I know. So as much as I want a daughter, I was thinking about it has to be a son. Because I have a daughter, it's only going to carry the name. But then by then, nowadays, the woman I'm with right now, the lady I'm with right now, is the first person I've dated ever.
That will have kids with you?
Yes. who is willing to have children, but is also okay with taking my last name. I never thought of it as such a big deal.
You've dated some very dominant types.
My high school girlfriend just wasn't interested.
Okay.
The one I dated in college, hell no. She refused.
I guess it might just become a thing that's accepted as
the
norm is that you don't take the last name.
I feel like a lot of people it is definitely more accepted now than ever before.
Yeah.
But if she does that and she doesn't want to take my last name, that's fine. The child will. Or I'm walking.
So you draw the line.
No, I don't have to worry. I don't think.
Just don't make a hyphenated last name or something.
Pardon?
Just don't hyphenate the last name to have two of them.
No.
Not cool.
Not at all. That's too many words.
And on that existential reproductive note...
Until next time.
Every cell of our body is screaming to reproduce and pass on our genetic information. We got to worry about that. Yeah. Till next time.
Yeah. This is going to be one to edit. That'll be
for you,
fun. Yeah.
If you want to keep doing it.
I don't mind doing the video editing. I think we'll have to switch at some point just because I'm getting behind. I got to catch up on them. The first one's fine. It's the second one that I'm enjoying doing. Because the second one and this one, God willing, are the only ones that we haven't had any issues with. And this one will be good just to do the entire time, which I like. Once it's all lined up, then it's just sitting and listening again. It's funny because I don't wear headphones listening to it. So Justin is listening And he laughs at points too, so I know there's something there.
I gotta get Tila in on and listening, but I don't feel like she's interested enough.
Yeah, Melissa won't listen to this. She already said she won't. So that's why they aren't invited back to the nights of recording. Have a good week.
We don't need him. See ya.